You woke up this morning and you made a choice: coffee or tea. You felt the small pause before you reached, that hovering moment where the decision seemed to float in the air, yours to take. It felt like freedom. But the real answer is far stranger. That choice was already made, not by you, not exactly. It was made by a quiet storm of electricity in your brain that began before you knew there was anything to decide. By the time the feeling of choosing arrived, the choosing was finished. Does that unsettle you? It should. Think of the last real decision you made. A job, a person, a word that changed a room. It felt like the deepest you, the part behind your eyes that steers. Scientists call it the sense of agency, the feeling that you are the author of your actions. For a long time, no one questioned it. Why would they? You want, and then you act. But in the 1980s, a scientist named Benjamin Libet decided to measure it. He asked people to do something simple. Flick your wrist whenever you feel like it, and tell me the instant you decided. What he found broke everything. Before a person felt the urge, the brain was already moving. A buildup he called the readiness potential rose like a wave, a fraction of a second before they believed they had chosen. The body got ready to act before the mind knew it wanted anything. The decision came first. The feeling of deciding came second, arriving late, like a passenger who thinks they are driving. That gap is small, barely half a second, but it is a crack in the center of everything you believe about yourself. If the brain moves first and the feeling comes second, then who is choosing? Decades later, a neuroscientist named John-Dylan Haynes ran it again with a brain scanner that saw deeper. He watched people freely choose to press a button, left hand or right, and he could see the answer coming. Not half a second early, up to 7 seconds early, sometimes 10. He could predict the choice long before the person felt they had made it. Long enough to change your mind, except the mind had not arrived yet. A machine knowing what you will do before you do. Not because it controls you. The choice was already forming in the dark, in parts of you that never send a memo to the part that feels like the boss. So if you are not choosing in the moment it is made, what are you? It gets stranger, because your brain also invents the reasons afterward, and hands them to you as if they were there all along. We know this from people whose brains were split in half to stop seizures, the two sides no longer able to talk. A scientist named Michael Gazzaniga questioned each half alone. He flashed the word walk to the right half only. The person stood and walked. Then he asked the left half, out loud, "Why are you walking?" It never saw the word. But it did not say, "I don't know." It said instantly, "I'm going to get a drink." A completely false reason, and the person believed it. Gazzaniga called this the interpreter. Its job is to watch what you do and spin a story that makes you feel like the author. You act. Then a narrator rushes in, points, and says, "That was me, and here is why." The story feels true, but it came after the deed. Sometimes you are just the press secretary, explaining a decision you were not in the room for. Now let that settle over your whole life. The genes you never picked, the parents you never chose, the language that shaped every thought you can think. You did not consent to any of it, and yet out of all of it comes the feeling, warm and unshakable, that you are choosing. Maybe that feeling is not a report. Maybe it is a gift. Your brain takes a process too vast to ever watch and compresses it into something you can live inside. It says you chose this, not because it is literally true, but because a creature that feels like it is steering will pay attention, will care, will try. And here's the twist. Knowing all this changes nothing about how it feels and everything about what it means. You will still reach for the cup tomorrow. It will still feel like you. The scanner could call the shot 10 seconds early, and you would still live the reach as freely as anyone ever has. That feeling is not a lie. It is one of the strangest things the universe has made. A pile of atoms that got so complicated it started to feel like it wanted things. So maybe the question was never whether you are free. Maybe the real wonder is that a process with no author produced a creature who feels like one. Who loves, who regrets, who lies awake deciding to be better tomorrow, as if tomorrow were still open. And in the only way that has ever mattered, it is. Tomorrow morning, you will reach for the coffee or the tea. The small pause will return, the hovering moment that feels like freedom. It will feel like yours, because in every way you can actually live, it is. You woke up this morning and you made a choice. Or, at long last, the choice quietly made you.